I look up here or look at you?
Whatever you feel. Sometimes I look at that. Sometimes I look at you. Do you even know how to do a podcast anymore?
It's been a while.
The war in the flesh overseas in Afghanistan, Iraq, and Africa is a cakewalk compared to the spiritual war. Something that we started, something that we blew up. That's our responsibility.
Savage is too nice a word.
What do you say? He was having a rough day? The churches aren't talking about this stuff because that is what we think a man is.
They're setting you up for failure. They're sending you out on the battlefield with no weapon.
For you know that when your faith is tested, your endurance has a chance to grow.
Hey guys, Keith and Eddie here, Eddie and Keith here. Haven't done this in a while. Kind of wanted to check in before we got back into the chapters and give you a little bit of an idea of what we've been up to. It's been, I did the math this morning, which is a struggle, but a year and a half.
That's a long time.
Since we did this together in person.
Yep.
Actually, it's not true. We did some when you were with me, but my system was so jacked up.
Our tech skills were not that good at all whatsoever.
So that stuff's lost for the secret vaults. But since we actually sat down and did the chapters, that was a year and a half ago.
Yep.
A lot's happened since then.
Oh, yeah, a lot.
Your life's been busy. My life's been busy. So I'm back in town. So we're going to knock some out.
Yep.
So folks can get back into them. So much has changed that we actually deleted some that were recorded.
Yes. Yeah. It was actually the India chapter in the book UNAFRAID, staring down terror as a Navy SEAL and
You're a single dad.
And a single dad. Yeah, it's so weird to say now because I'm married and all that stuff. But yeah, we were about to post it up and we sent it over to Zach, our podcast guy, and we were looking over. I'm like I was fidgeting. It was just weird. Like a lot of life changes, and it was bad, right? I mean, not then. It wasn't.
Notice. You noticed things.
I did. I noticed. I was like, we need to redo it.
It was funny that one of the guys when the original ones went up, somebody accused you of being on coke.
Did they?
Yeah, you were sniffing a bunch and you were real jittery, which is hilarious.
That's when I had something medical going on. Remember that I was pale. I was anemic. During that time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're both kind of old now, so the wheels are starting to come off.
A little bit old, yep.
So since we last did this like this, we did a couple on Zoom. Mm-hmm. Those are cool, but it's not the same.
It's not the same at all. Not even close.
You got married.
Right? Yep. Well, we had the ceremony.
Yeah,
you came down for the ceremony.
You were technically married before, but you had a wedding.
Yep.
Which was awesome.
It was so awesome.
I appreciated the shout out in the ceremony.
Yeah.
Eddie wrote his own vows and he stopped in the middle of the ceremony and said, "By the way, I wrote these. Keith didn't do them for me."
Because my wife, Amanda, she goes, "Don't have Keith write your vows." I was like, I'm not going to do that. I was like, she really thinks I'm going to do that. But I mean, if I was smart, I would be like, "Hey, bro, does this sound right or not?" But I did it on my own.
Great.
I did it on my own.
You did great.
Perfect.
That was
fifth
awesome.
grade.
And it was really, I basically got to meet everybody that we wrote about in the book. A couple of them I had met before.
Yeah, okay, so about that. So you show up to the wedding, you know who all these people are.
They have no idea why.
They know who Keith is,
right?
But they don't know how much you know about them, right. Especially if they haven't read the book.
It was a little bit spooky. Like I thought a little
stalker.
Yeah. It was, and it's weird. I guess now it's a thing where people know about people because of social media. Mm-hmm. But I'm not in that world, right. So I don't know anything about people unless they tell me.
Yep.
But when you've basically studied these people for 2 years,
mm-hmm.
like we did, your mom, Joe, your roommate, all these people.
Yep.
And I had to purposefully act a little bit dumb to not be creepy.
That's so funny.
But it did help out. I get to the hotel, and I live in a relatively rural place. I don't even think we have Uber.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm like, this big metropolitan area, I'm going to be able to Uber everywhere. I get to the hotel, there are no cars.
Mm-hmm.
Because I guess where your wedding was fairly...
Yeah, it's far.
Like a farm, right?
Yeah, very far.
So I'm standing there, and I see Joe walk out of the hotel. I'm like, I think that's Joe, Bud's roommate. I mean, everybody has a subtitle, right?
Chapter 4.
It's like Joe, Bud's roommate. And I'm like... And I saw... Actually, he pulled up. I saw him go inside. And I'm like, I think that I'm going to have to hit this dude up for a ride. And hopefully he doesn't what the heck is this guy doing? Right? I think I'm crazy. Kill me, maybe.
Pulls out his gun, like, get away from me, psycho.
He's a security guy for a living, right? And then I see Dom. And I'm like, okay, this is definitely them. And I kind of, I knew Dom a little bit. So I was like, hey, man, what's up, whatever. And I ended up catching a ride with those guys. It was great. Got to meet them. I've actually hung out with Joe since. Both happened to be in Coronado at the same time.
Yep.
And no, it was just awesome to meet all those people. And what was really cool was how once people figured out who I was, they were super appreciative and glad that we did what we did together and everything. It was really neat.
Yep.
So that was cool. You have quit drinking since we last
quit drinking.
Did this.
Yep.
Which is nuts. It
was huge.
As I was reading chapters that we're going to do, I was flying here this morning, and I started to notice this kind of on again, off again relationship with alcohol. You would, when your marriage stuff, and we'll get into all that, but when that was going on, you would quit drinking. But you'd always go back, and I drink. I'm not saying anything, but for you, that was a big deal, and this time it's for real. It's permanent, right? This is
it was my go-to. It was like, oh, I don't like this. Let's go back to it, and then I'm like, I'll try to do it on my own to quit drinking. Some to appease other people, and it just wasn't good for me. Like I'm like, hey, let's go. Like I'm 100 miles per hour.
Yeah.
So
when I first met you, you were drinking a lot.
I was.
It was a little wild. I mean, it was. I got to see like.
That person, that guy.
Which was great. I know a lot of guys like that, but definitely a calmer, more sustainable version of you now.
Yeah, very much wiser now.
Yeah.
You
think about all the stuff dumb in your life, and if you basically taken alcohol out of the equation, or women, or whatever, a few little things, you'd basically...
Well, that alcohol ties into that women piece.
Totally.
For sure.
All this, your decision making.
Yep.
My neighbor always says people who don't drink, it's like a superpower.
Yep.
They wake up in the morning, they're full of energy.
Yep.
So it's admirable to watch you do that 100%. And stick with it.
Yeah, it's been like 13 months now, I think.
Yeah, I'm sure you just feel...
It's awesome, dude.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah, and you said something when you came to Alabama to visit, which was the last time we actually saw each other, which has been 10 months ago, believe it or not. Because that was right about this time this stuff took off. It was right before Sean Ryan's show came out.
Yep.
It had already been taped.
That's right. That's right. Because that was what, December? Early
December, and it dropped like Christmas Eve, Christmas Day.
Christmas Day.
I think I spent most of Christmas Day smoking meat outside my house, watching you and Sean Ryan, watching the book sales.
I love Sean.
I never met the guy, but he's
a good dude. He's a very good dude.
I've become a big fan of his show, and he certainly had a positive outcome for me in my life too, without even knowing.
Oh, 100%. I mean, I hear that from guys all the time. It's like they watch his podcast. He's very good at the interview style that he does, and just he has people in there that kind of they speak truth. From what I can gather, is they speak truth and whatever.
Well, and he's got an ability. He has the credibility, I guess, where he can get people that might not talk to other folks.
Correct.
Certainly about certain subjects, right? Because he has the background he does. So that's really cool. No, it's great. So that was going on, and so that's been it was December of 22. Last time we were around each other, and you were sober by then.
When I went and filmed on Sean's, I think I was like 60 days sober.
Okay.
Not having a sip of alcohol.
Okay.
Because we were talking about it, because I think he was at that time was 8 months sober.
Okay. That's cool that you guys, it's funny how the timing, it's
dude, it's
funny,
insane.
Coincidence.
Yeah, right. We talked about those.
Yeah. But just kind of wanted to check in. This is what we've been up to. You've been going around doing speaking events, book signings, things like that.
Yep. And you've been hunting around the world.
I've been on some trips.
You've been on some trips. Like, you went to South America?
I went to
Africa?
I went to Zimbabwe and Bolivia. I'm trying to cover the alphabet. I missed out. I'm going to Argentina next year, so we'll get A to Z. I was dropping my kids off at camp. It's like the day before I left for Zimbabwe. And another family from our town was dropping their kids off. And the husband said to the wife, like, oh, where's Keith? Where's Keith coming in? And the wife, no idea what my travel plans are. She's like, I think he's probably in Zimbabwe or somewhere. And then, no joke, 24 hours later, I'm leaving for Zimbabwe. Like, good guess.
Yeah.
That was, without going into too much detail, closest I've ever come to dying was on that trip. So I got to taste some of the fight or flight stuff that we talk about in the book for the first time.
It's good to experience that without losing your life or limb.
Yeah, and
or eyesight.
The funny part is, you and I were like that later that night. You and I were talking on WhatsApp or whatever. I was like, "Hey, man, I got to taste that. It's pretty powerful." Mm-hmm. But I laugh. Like the difference between me and you is, I had this happen one time, and I was like, "Wow, that was really cool. I never want to be in that situation again." And you're like, "I want to do this every day for the rest of my life."
I don't know if that's like that anymore, though. Now I've got a totally different perspective on life right now.
You at age 25 or 30.
Oh, it's like go.
And maybe had I tasted that then, I would have had the same result. I mean, it's different having kids. That changes everything.
100%. Yeah.
So, but no, a lot
and back pain, knee pain, shoulder pain.
Eyesight. If we had a teleprompter, I'd need my glasses to read.
Oh man, yep, I'm the same. I'd be the same.
So yeah, we've been around. We're not broken up or anything. Just been both busy, and now we're in the same place. We're going to do some more of these. So if you folks have been waiting for the next chapters, you're about to get them.
And that's the reason, the main reason why we haven't been putting these chapters out. Because I think we had about 4 or 5 left on deck, and we scratched them all, just trashed them like we're going to redo it. Just a different perspective. We got a lot of feedback now from people that reached out about the book. We've done a lot of events about a lot of book signing, stuff like that we can speak upon, and which is nice, because before I think we had like the manuscript. It wasn't even.
We didn't have a cover.
We didn't have a cover or anything. Yeah, so now the book is out.
Yeah, I guess we glossed over the fact the book came out.
Yes, the book's been out. Yeah. The book's out now.
If you haven't heard, it's UNAFRAID, available wherever books are sold. What's surprised me has been the reach of this. Mm-hmm. I've met people that I haven't spoken to. I got a text from a guy the other day. I talk to this guy maybe twice a year. Former kind of work colleague, friend, and he just said, "Did you get your tattoo yet?" And I had made a bet way back on one of the first ones that when we sell 1 million books, not if, but when, I'm going to get UNAFRAID tattooed on my back, very small. Yeah. We're not quite there yet.
We didn't talk about font size.
We'll work on that when we get there. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. But I'm like, surely he's not talking about that reference. Surely this guy hasn't listened to his podcast or watched a YouTube video. And I said, "Do you mean the one about the books?" He's like, "Yeah."
Oh, he did.
Did you get your tattoo yet? And I was like, "Wow, it's just crazy." So you got to be careful what you say, because people listen. And my kids now are Googling stuff, and their friends come to school, and
that's so cool, man.
I had one of my kids' friends like, "Yeah, I think my kid had an UNAFRAID shirt or the bracelets," and they're like, "Oh, you're wearing your dad's merch to school."
I love it, dude.
Like, how does like an 8-year-old kid know what merch is?
That's so cool. And that's another thing, dude. We got the clean version came out.
Yes.
How did that get?
Okay.
I honestly, that's kind of your department of setting that up, because you're way more knowledgeable.
So it became fairly obvious as the book came out and the Sean Ryan audience and all that there's obviously a Christianity element to your story. It's not it's not a faith book per se, but that's part of your life. So it's part of the memoir, and we realized that it was really kind of touching a nerve with the Christian community. So I don't know anything about Christian authors or publishing or any of that stuff. So I started trying to reach out to folks who did, Jeff Struker, people like that. And one of the folks I talked to, sort of friend of a friend, and she writes Christian romance novels, which I did not know was a thing.
We can do one if you want.
I have so many ideas. And she was super cool, super generous with her time, told me a lot, and offered to read the book, read it, and I didn't hear anything for a while. But I'm at the point now, people are sending me manuscripts to read and stuff like that. You just can't always read them all, right? And so I'm like, no big deal, no pressure. I'm not going to bother anybody. And a couple months later, I heard back from her. And in her email, I think it was an email, not a text, it was obviously she was torn, and she's like, "Look, I love this story. It's so inspiring. And I would love to share it with my readers. But if I recommend a book with F-bombs in it, some of these people are never going to..."
What do we have, like 3?
There's a couple.
Couple.
No, it wasn't bad at all.
Yeah. But I get it too at the same time.
She's like, "I just can't recommend that to my audience." And I really appreciate, she doesn't want to put her own livelihood at risk, which I totally get. And she said I was sort of stuck on this for a while, didn't know what to do. And then her son wanted to read or listen to or whatever one of the Goggins books. Not sure which one. And I did not know this, but there is a clean version, which is funny because there's a lot more to clean up, as I recall. It's been a while since I've read his first book. I never read the second one, but certainly if you hear him talk, he's a lot more profanity than we use in UNAFRAID. But there is a clean version, which is great because you can get that message to a different audience. Mm-hmm. And she said, have you guys ever considered that? And of course, we're like,
we have now.
How do we do this? And we honestly went in and it didn't, I didn't real high tech. I went into Word and searched, like, put in every cuss word I can think of. And then stuff like, crack cocaine, I just changed to hard drugs, things like that. Just stuff that, okay, if my kid was reading this, what would I not necessarily want them to read about? So, but you certainly can't take out the violence because that's at the core of the story. Mm-hmm. We had to say hell because you can't say Hell Week without hell. Right. That'd be tough to, Heck Week.
Hell's real. You need to take that out. That's actually a place.
Good. Yeah, so we did that. I think it's a little confusing for some folks. I actually had a Wall Street Journal reporter call me a few days ago and wanted to hear about the books and military books in general and all that. And I could tell he was looking at them and he was like, adaptive for young adults. Did you write a young adult book? And I explained the whole background of the thing. He's like, oh, okay. And in Amazon, it depends if you're looking at a phone or a desktop. Mm-hmm. You can accidentally buy one or the other, I think.
Yeah. I had a buddy that they got some for an event and he's like, it's taking so long. And I'm like, well, show me what you got. And it was the young adult version. Yeah. I'm like, this is why.
The good news is it's not significantly different.
No.
You know what I mean?
It's almost the same thing.
Yeah, it's like 12 words different. Yeah, so if you accidentally got the young adult version, you're not going to.
It's pretty much the same thing.
Yeah. And we did not change the audio version. Just logistically, that was going to be a lot more trouble.
No.
And
audio
couldn't do it all.
Right where it needs to be.
Yeah. So that's where we are. That's where we've been. Now we're going to get back into the chapters. Anything else? Oh, I want to bring up one story.
Oh boy.
So I ran into a friend. It's going back maybe a year or so. I was on a plane to DC, and I never wear the AirPods in my ears in public. I think you look like a guy with AirPods in his ears in public, but it's not my thing. But I had them on. I was listening to, maybe it was like really into a podcast or whatever, and I'm boarding a flight from Atlanta to DC, and my freshman roommate is on the flight, and I walk right by him, and he's going, Wood. And the guy next to him is like, I don't think you know him. Like, I don't think. And so I get to my seat and I get a text. He's like, heading to DC? And I'm like, wait, what? And then he was like 10 rows ahead of me. So we hung out. We had dinner while I was there. And he was in the Army. Mm-hmm. And then has worked basically selling radios and stuff to the military ever since. He's been in that world. I think now is in some sort of robotics world. But has worked in the defense contracting industry. And he works for this company now, and the founder is a SEAL. And he's telling him this story about a lazy river.
I kind of already know.
And so the story as told to me was that this group of these team guys are at a hotel, and there's a lazy river, and one of the guys bets the other guys that he could swim the entire lazy river underwater.
Correct.
Right, without coming up. And the bet is like, he'll buy everybody's drinks if he can't or can or whatever. Mm-hmm. I don't remember the way the bet went.
If he can make it underwater, the other guy has to buy drinks. Okay. If he doesn't, then he's got to buy a round for everybody. Okay. And I heard there was about 6 to 10 people there.
Okay. So he goes all the way around. He gets to the end and he passes out. And the people are about to jump in and rescue him. And they're like, no, wait, let him pass the finish line.
Because it's a lazy river. There's a current pushing him.
Right. So if he gets past, then you guys are getting free drinks.
Right? To it.
And he can go. You guys know how long he can go without breathing. It's fine.
4 minutes, actually, before that brain damage happens.
It's going to be 30 seconds.
Yeah, there you go.
So I'm telling you the story, and I was like, have you ever heard this? You're like, dude, I jumped in and got the guy.
Yeah.
Is that true?
Yeah, I gave him mouth to mouth. But really, all you need is some pain to stimulate and to wake him up. But yeah, I picked him up, and but I was like, stop. And then he was like, kind of like Superman, and he'd across the finish line. As soon as he made that finish line, we picked him up and got him out. And I remember the parents and kids were like, what the heck is going on? We're all laughing. We get, another round of whatever the heck we got another round of and carried on.
So it's just funny.
It was funny you said that. I'm like, I was like, Keith, that was me.
That was me. I figured you maybe had heard the story. I didn't realize you were a crucial part of the story. So two things. One, how small the community is.
Very small.
And two, maybe alcohol's not so great. Maybe
that's what I'm saying. You do dumb
decisions
things. You do dumb things. Because that could have totally gone the other way.
Sure.
And like the dude could be passed out. And whatever. So
awesome. Well, we'll get into the chapters.
You ready for it?
Where we left off before, minus the twitchy behavior.
Yeah. And these chapters, we're going to discuss the chapters. We're not changing anything from there. We're going to, we'll as we go through these, we'll go back to the time frame when all this stuff was taking place. So we don't, change anything of the reality of what happened. So
yeah, it's not you now talking about that chapter. We're putting you back.
We're going back
of your time. Yeah,
correct.
But just physically, you didn't like the way you were.
100%. Yeah. Which is why we're doing new chapters.
Awesome. And you got these.
They're nice, right?
Very nice.
They're so.
And where can we buy these?
Heavy. UNAFRAIDshop.com, bro.
Okay. Because last time I said, what did I say, unafraid.com, and it wasn't.
Yeah, I was like, no, don't say that.
So,
they
Unafraid Shop.
UNAFRAIDshop.com.
Shirts.
Yep. All the things. All the things.
Awesome.
So this will be good. We're going to knock out some good chapters right now.
So look out for those. They'll be here soon. And if you weren't here at the beginning, we're basically doing a chapter by chapter editorial. Talk about a little extra material and things like that.
Yep.
So if you can't get enough of this stuff, we're gonna give you a little more.
Yep. And then we've done Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta, Echo.
We're starting again in India.
We're in India, so we've gone all the way up to India.
So you've done your Team 2 deployments, right? And now we're about to go into.
I think we're on selection. To the tier 1 unit.
Right. So it's actually kind of a nice.
It was a nice little
right?
break.
Because that's when your life changed. Yeah. That's when the new podcast room.
Yep.
All that is really nice, by the way.
No, thanks, man.
We
need bigger.
Pretty rudimentary.
We need bigger.
Before
we were like trying to film things on iPhones and using a light.
Couldn't figure out how to
no clue what's going on.
Zach. Now it's like
it's gotten a little bit better. It's gotten a little bit better.
TV action going on.
We've just begun.
Yeah.
So
cool.
Awesome.
All right.
Good?
Yeah, we're good.
All right, guys. See ya.